Here we will look at an application of linear functions. The figure represents the average age of first marriage in the United States for men and women between 1970 and 2015. A. Use the two given points to find the average rate of change for women's first marriage. So recognize that we're looking at the blue line for women, and we're given two coordinates. We want to find the average rate of change, slope, between those 2 points. So M, remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y2 is 27.1. Y1 is 20.8. X2 is 45. X1 is 0. Let's put this in the calculator. Alpha y equals, and then hitting enter or number 1 will give us this fraction notation. So now we just have to type in the numerator 27.1 minus 20.8 and then use the cursors to go down to the denominator, and we have 45 minus 0. Hit enter and we can see that the slope is 0.14. Or if we wanted to convert that to a fraction, we could hit math, enter to get a reduced fraction, 7/50. This is the average rate of change for women's first marriage. Part B wants us to create a function using the data from Part A and the graph. Think y equals mx plus b. We just found m, the rate of change, is 7/50. Now we need to find b, the y-intercept. To do that, we'll go back to the graph. Remember that we're looking at the blue graph, and it looks like the y-intercept of that graph is 20.8. Remember that when x is 0, you have the y-intercept, which in this case is 20.8. So b is 20.8. We now have an equation that represents the women's first marriage. Part C asks us to use the function to predict the average age of women's first marriage in the year 2030. So let's go back to the graph. Notice that the x coordinates of this graph are written in terms of years after 1970. And we're curious about what's happening in 2030. So how many years after 1970 is 2030? If we want, we can just throw it in the calculator. 2030 minus 1970, and we get 60 years. So 60 is the x that we want to use. So going back to our equation, y equals 7/50 times 60, 60 being the number of years after 1970, plus 20.8. Let's see what this gives us. 7 divided by 50 times 60 plus 20.8. We get 29.2. So this is the average age of women's first marriage in the year 2030.